Hey friends, it's Gloria and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be talking about some books that I want to read in 2023. The first of probably a few videos of TBRs for 2023, books I look forward to reading. In this video specifically, I'm going to be talking about the books that are going to work well with Buzzwordathon, or the Buzzword Reading Challenge, created by Kayla from Books and Lala. If you aren't aware, Buzzwordathon is a year-long reading challenge where every month there is a prompt and you want to pick up a book with the title that works with the prompt. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through the 12 prompts in the 12 months and 3 books that work for each of those prompts. So a slight pile of possibilities. I might pick up one of the 3. To be honest, I might pick up some random book during that month. I've so far done this challenge twice for 2021 and 2022, and I have been successful in completing both of the year-long challenges. So it's just a fun thing to throw in for 2023. Starting with January, the words being life or death. This first book is already on my winter TBR, so I hope to read it in January, and that is Dead Mountain, the untold true story of the Dyatlov Pass incident by Donnie Eicher. This one has dead in the title. I just read Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer in December and really enjoyed it. This will be another kind of survival, nonfiction, exciting read about very sad and tragic event. The other possibility is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This is a nonfiction darling at this point. It is about a woman whose cells were taken from her without her consent and used for scientific research, and her family never received compensation. One of those books that I think you need to read in your life. And my third option for this prompt is The Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus. This is a middle grade contemporary, I think around adoption or foster family maybe. It is about a young girl that was born without arms, and so it's her story and her overcoming her disability. But I recently heard Chantal from Chantal Reads All Day really love it and talk about it. I don't read middle grade too often, but I really would love to read this one because I've just heard nothing but great things. For February, the prompt is a verb in the title of a book. The first one that I could read from this was actually a recommendation from Shelley Swearingen. She made a whole video about recommending books for each of the prompts, and that is Unfollow by Megan Phelps Roper. This is a memoir of loving and leaving the Westboro Baptist Church. It's about a woman and her family who are in this weird religious cult that believe very interesting and horrible things, and how she left that. I feel like this could be, you know, on the same level as Educated, perhaps, of a woman kind of leaving her family past and learning from that. Another one that I've just had on my shelf for a long time, and that is The Things They Carry by Tim O'Brien. This is a book about the Vietnam War, one of those that many people read in school. I have never read this, would love to read it. Been sitting on my nonfiction shelves for a while. And the third book that could be a possibility for February is Their Eyes Were Watching God. This is another one that I feel like so many people have read and loved, and I want to see what all the fuss is about. I don't know too many details. I think it's set in the South. I heard it's beautifully written. I would love to read this author, just diversify my reading and see if I get along with this book. For March, the prompt is Secret, which works really well because Secret was a prompt for Nonfiction November, and there's a lot of books that I didn't get to, so I'm just going to move them and push them over onto my March TBR. A couple of those being The Secret History of Food, which is one I want to get to, and also Empire of Pain, which is the secret history of the something family about the opioid crisis. I've heard good things about both of those nonfictions, would love to get to them. And another one that's been on my shelves for too long is The Secret Life of Bees. This one I've been wanting to read for another bee video installment. I believe I read this book when I was younger, but I can't really remember the details, so I'd love to give it a try again. It's a historical fiction set in the South about a woman that befriends some black beekeepers and an aspect of found family, I think. For April, the prompt is Emotions. The big one that's coming out in April that I think many people will read is Emily Henry's newest book, Happy Place. I've read all 3 of her books already, especially if it will be in the Libro FM advanced listening copy section. I probably will pick it up. I think it's fun to sprinkle rom-coms now and again in my reading, and her books aren't perfect. I don't love them all, but she does write really fun banter between characters, so I probably will pick up Happy Place. But my other 2 options of books I own that work well with this emotion prompt is Leanne Moriarty's Truly Madly Guilty. Leanne Moriarty is an author that I've really loved a few books from, so I want to read more of her backlist, and I own this one. I don't know any details about it, but her books usually are contemporary, deal with family, deal with secrets. There's usually some kind of mystery involved. And the other one is The Splendid and the Vile by Erik Larson. This is a saga of Churchill family and defiance during the Blitz. I really love to read historical fiction that has to do with the London Blitz, and this is a nonfiction by an author, Erik Larson, that I've been meaning to get to. Don't know why I haven't read from him yet, but I own a few of his books. This one fits well with this prompt. All right, so for May, this is a fun one. The prompt is flavors, seasoning, herbs, or spices. So any words that have to do with that food theme. Historical fiction that's been around for a while that I now own and want to get to is Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. I recently saw Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library for Historathon give this 5 stars. It has to do with a Japanese perspective during World War II, so would love to get to that one. Another book that was on my Nonfiction November TBR TBR, but I didn't quite get to, so maybe I will save this for May. And that is The Lemon Tree by Sandy Tolan. This is a book that has to do with Arab and Jew relations in the Middle East. Heard fantastic things about this one. And then finally, I have to read a book that has honey in the title, I think, for May, because I love reading books that have to do with bees and honey. It's a whole thing. I create videos about this. I really hope to have another video in this series in 2023, and I think May would be a good month because I have 5 books to choose from that all have honey in the title. I think the most obvious one is Salt and Honey, because both of those are flavor words, and this is a book that I have not heard much about at all, but it is one that I found while I was in the UK, and this has to do with Africa and apartheid. I also have The Honey Thief. Don't know anything about this one. Honey and the Horn. Unlikely to get to this one because it is chunky. It is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, which I realized usually I don't like books that are winner of prizes. This is a classic, but it is set in Oregon, which I want to read more books about that. The Honey Bus is a nonfiction memoir, and one that I got last year for Christmas that I haven't read yet, and that is Honey and Venom: Confessions of an Urban Beekeeper. So I have my pick, hopefully one of those in May, and if not those, maybe one of these. For the month of June, the buzzword is Other, and a book that I own and would love to read, and that is My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. I believe this is a BBC series, maybe that's why it's getting a little bit more popularity, but I feel like this is on the same lines as All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. It's about a British family and fun quirkiness, and it'll make you laugh, and it's quite wholesome. I feel like it's that kind of thing. So would love to get to that one, and this book feels very summery, so perfect for June. Another possibility I have is The Other Bennet Sister. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling about, I believe, Mary Bennet. That's not mentioned too often in Pride and Prejudice, and it's her side of the story and her life. Literally have heard nothing but amazing things about it, and I read Pride and Prejudice in 2022 and really loved it, so I would love to read a few more retellings or books that are in the Pride and Prejudice world. And then a third option is The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. I read Cast and really loved it. She is so intelligent in the way that she broke down really heavy topics and concepts that are so broad and big and affect each and every one of us. She did it in a beautiful way in Cast, and I would love to read her other book. This is about the Great Migration of Black people moving from the South post-Civil War into the North, I believe. It's definitely an area of history that I need to learn more about. For July, the theme is weather, and an author that I really need to read more from. I own all of his books. I really love The Kite Runner, and 1,000 Splendid Suns is the book that I've heard really good things about as well. Set in Afghanistan. Hosseini is a fantastic author who writes really compelling stories. Another one with sun in the title is How Dare the Sun Rise. This is a memoir about a woman who grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo and how she survived a massacre, immigrated to America, and overcame her trauma, and she's telling her story. I've heard really great things about this. I think this one came on my radar from Annie McNulty's channel. And then the third option for me for July is We Are the Weather. This is a nonfiction book about weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. He wrote a book called Eating Animals, which was about the slaughterhouse industry, a very intense nonfiction that was really well done, and I'm very curious what he has to say on climate change and weather, so that one's on my radar as well. For August, the prompt is Body Parts, a book that I own, and I think blood counts as a body part, is Bad Blood: Secrets and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup by John Carreyrou. This is now a documentary, or I think maybe a mini series, about a woman who basically lied to a bunch of investors for this fake company that didn't really exist. One of those true crime books that a lot of people love. The other option is an Amy Harmon book. She is a favorite author of mine. I really want to read more of her backlist, and one of her books is called Making Faces. This is a YA contemporary, I believe, which is not my forte at all, but I am willing to try it because I want to read all of her books at some point. And then my third option is called A Honeybee Heart Has 5 Openings. This is a recent book that came on my radar because of Well-Traveled Books. She raved about it recently, and honestly, all I needed to know was that Honeybee was in the title. Like I mentioned before, I just have an extensive list of books that I want to read that have that theme. For September, the theme is game-related words, and I own The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I don't read too many thrillers. This is one I recently hauled, and last being a game-related word, like first and last, that kind of thing. So one I want to try, I believe two women go on a flight, the plane crashes, one takes the identity of the other, something along those lines. The other one is a series that I would love to start. It is a middle grade series that so many people love, and it is The Keeper of the Lost Cities. I believe it is a 9-book series at this point. I really would love to start and finish it when the series is all wrapped up, because I'm a girl that loves to binge the whole series and be done with it. I don't want to wait years and years for the next book. I don't know how many more books are going to be in the series, but hopefully they're wrapping up soon. And then the third option is Games in a Ballroom. This is a romance Regency book, and I've heard a couple people read it. Maybe mainly Krista from Books and Jams. It is supposed to be cute, maybe Bridgerton-esque without all the steam. I'm not sure, but sounds fun. For October, the word is magic. Now, I have no books that have magic in the title and very little on my TBR that actually have magic in the title, but I found 3 that work. The first one is very out of my comfort zone, but Annie McNulty raved about it and a few other people I saw gave it high ratings. It was also in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and that is A Magic Steeped in Poison. This is a historical fantasy young adult, I believe. The cover is gorgeous. I know that tea is a main element and I love tea. I don't read fantasy basically at all, so this is very much out of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to try it for October. The other magic word is a nonfiction. It is A Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. I tend to not love books about grief. This is probably one of the main ones on grief because it's about a woman who loses, I believe, her husband and her kid in a very close amount of time, and then it's her year of reflection and working through the grief. I heard this book is amazing. It is up there in the must-read nonfiction lists. We'll see how I fare with it because I don't like books on grief very much. And the third book is not specifically magic, but it is a magic-related word, and that is The Diviners. This is another young adult series. When I first started BookTube, it was up there with like The Shadow of Bone and Six of Crows and all those. A series that so many people love. It's been on my TBR for ages. I really want to try it because it is historical also. I feel like I could really get along with it. I also heard the audiobook is fantastic, so definitely a YA series I'm willing to give a go. For November, the buzzword is good. I have a couple options. The one that I own that I found in a little free library is Good Talk by Mira Jacob. This is a nonfiction graphic novel. I couldn't tell you what it's about, but it is a memoir in conversations. Maybe talking about politics, which I don't love. Maybe talking about race relations, I don't know, maybe talking about family. I want to give it a try, so we'll see. My 2 other possibilities for good is The Good Neighbor, which is a book on Fred Rogers' life. I remember being a kid and watching the show, really enjoying it. I've watched a couple of the movies on Fred Rogers, the documentary on his life, and that was beautiful. I have not seen the Tom Hanks one yet, but this is a book on his life, so I would love to read that. And then my third option is The Good Nurse. This came on my radar because there is a movie that is on Netflix. I have not watched it. I would love to read the book first. This is a nonfiction true crime, I believe, about a nurse who, unnoticed and under the radar, was able to kill, I want to say, around like 400 people by injecting poison into IV bags and administering that to many people, and he was able to do that for a long time before anyone was able to find out. I saw some interview with the actor and actress who are playing in the Netflix movie. The movie looks fantastic. I would love to try the book first. And finally, for December of 2023, a year from now, 3 books that are on my radar because of the prompt of sound related words. I have a few options. First one being I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This is one that is up there of books to read, must try, an author that I would love to read. I believe this is her memoir. I'm not sure, but sing is my sound related word. The other one is another author I've already mentioned, Jonathan Safran Foer. This is his book Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. I believe this is a book about 9/11 or post 9/11, about a boy who loses his father. I know there's a movie. I think Tom Hanks is in the movie, maybe not, but I've heard that's a good one. Would love to read the book and watch the movie. And then my third option is also another author I've already mentioned, Khaled Hosseini, and this is And the Mountains Echoed. I don't think this is his best work out of his 3 that I'm aware of, but I still would love to try it. So another, I'm sure, book set in Afghanistan and is telling some sort of family story there. So that is my pile of possibilities and TBR for the Buzzword Reading Challenge. What do you think of my picks? Have you read any of them? Would you recommend some more than others? Let me know your thoughts. And if you're participating in 2023, thank you for tuning in and watching this video, and I will see you guys in another one soon. Bye!